I thank the chairman. I yield back.
The gentleman yields back. I now recognize the gentleman from Utah, Mr. Owens, for 5 minutes. He was on the screen. There he is.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and ranking member. Thank you for holding this hearing today. And to the witnesses, I really do appreciate you sharing experiences. We've heard a lot today about the council culture invading our society, but I need to say something a little bit more than that. There's a reason why I'm passionately fighting this current council culture, because what I've seen, what counseling a culture truly looks like with my upbringing. Counseling a culture looks like intimidation of young Black students entering the University of Alabama to break the back of segregation in 1973. Counseling a culture looks like police and attack dogs waiting at the end of Selma Bridge in 1965. Today, counseling a culture has taken the form of oppressive censorship of big tech silencing American voices and stealing our freedom of speech. As it was in 1960 civil rights days, it will take the same old school Americanism to defeat this curse. It's called courage, backbone, a patriotic bipartisanship, which I'm seeing today, an effort to prioritize our culture of freedom over global profit and power. The enemies of our American culture can be summarized in 2 words, the same words used as the enemies of 1960 freedom fighters, bullies and cowards. To go back to what Thomas Jefferson and one of our founders said, obviously, years ago, at the beginning, ignorant and free, to paraphrase, ignorant and free can never be. It's never been more true than it is today. There's been a lot of good questions asked today, and I don't want to duplicate those. So I'm just going to ask Mr. Travis and Mr. Greenwald. This is one of I think of a long series of steps that's going to get us to where we can deal with this process that's been happening to us for quite a while. This counseling a culture, our American culture. How do you see us finally get to that end where we've gotten control? And obviously, this is one of the many steps to get in control to where we can have this freedom of speech again, where we expect this as a country, that this should be a natural process. We can speak freely without feeling of being attacked. How do you see that coming to where we can end this process here in America? Let's start with Mr. Travis and Mr. Greenwald.
It's a great question, Congressman. And to me, every single American out there is terrified on some level every time they pick up Twitter, every time they pick up Instagram, every time they pick up Facebook, and they sit there for a moment and think about whatever opinion they're about to share, and they have to think to themselves, is this worth my life fundamentally changing? And to me, the marketplace of ideas, Congressman, requires that people not be afraid to say what they really think. And what we have created is such a stifled environment today that people are terrified to say what they think. They're also terrified that their kids might have a TikTok video out where they're singing along to a rap song and suddenly they can't get a college scholarship anymore. That's happening every single day across this country. And big tech has helped to create a censorious universe where, again, I said cancel culture to me is the difference between I disagree with you and I disagree with you, and you're not even allowed to be involved in this conversation, and you shouldn't be allowed to have a job either. And what we have to do if we want to have a full flourishment of democracy is start to fight back against that culture of censorship. And one of the ways that we do it, I believe, is by restricting the antitrust power that I believe the big tech companies have come to take over in the ensuing decade. And I'm sure Glenn can talk about that a lot better even than I can, but that's the essence of the question I think you're asking.
Yeah, thank you.
The one point I'd like to emphasize, Congressman, about all that is big media, the largest media corporations in the United States, are not opposed to the censorious behavior of big tech. Quite the contrary, they're the ones who have agitated for it most aggressively. If you ask people in Silicon Valley, they will tell you they would, all other things being equal, prefer to be out of the business of content moderation and have been pressured by big media companies, both for ideological and competitive reasons, to silence others who might compete with these large outlets in the name of diversity. And this is why I would really urge the committee to strongly consider this. What I think everyone is saying is very valid in this concern for the viability of local media outlets. So if that's the case, the focus ought to be on empowering these local media outlets to sustain themselves and to grow and flourish, and not empower the actors who are causing so many of the problems that we're all talking about, which are big media outlets either acting in concert with big tech or in many cases co-opting the power that they wield.
The time of the gentleman has expired.